This is Boomer Life on CIL 650.
Enjoy yourself, enjoy yourself, enjoy yourself, me. Enjoy yourself, enjoy yourself, enjoy yourself.
Jackson 5. Nice. Not Michael Jackson, the Jackson 5. Yeah, we're going way back.
Yeah.
When he had the big afro, that was, and he had great moves. All right, we're getting into what's going on today and tomorrow with Opal by Element, and it's at the corner of King Ed and Cambie. And we talked earlier, if you're just joining us, the process is underway, and you're starting to build, and it's very exciting. It's going to be 2 years from now when it's finally open. But there's a way for you to experience it beforehand.
Yes,
it's called the Discovery
right.
Center. It's at City Square, right?
Yes.
So right across from City Hall in Vancouver at
12th
and Cambie.
Yeah.
And so what happens there? What do you have?
So when we secured this unit, it was with the intent that it would be to engage the families, and that's why we don't call it a sales center, presentation center, leasing center. It's a discovery center. So in there, it's actually over 3,700 square feet of space, and 1/3 of it is designed to accommodate seminars and focus groups so that we can plan our activities with the residents. So we touched on menu planning, but there's also, we would invite experts to come in to talk about financial planning to help them think about retirement differently, that a lot more is possible than they might imagine, financially too for the family. Then there'll be wellness programs where they can come and experience different instructors, because like we always say, it is really the fit of personalities and styles. So even in, say, yoga, we have so many forms of yoga. They can help to guide, like how much of our scheduling is hatha yoga, restorative yoga, and as well as Tai Chi. And then it depends on who the instructor is, and they can let us know so that we can engage the good ones for them.
So who's coming in? Who's coming into the Discovery Center? Is it the kids bringing the parents in, or are the parents taking the kids in?
Oh, we see a lot of. Actually, I'd say 70% of the time it is the sandwich generation coming in together with the parents.
And are the parents resistant to this? Like you were mentioning, Greg, there's a generation that's maybe a little resistant. But once they find out more, they get excited.
They can be... The ones who are resistant would be the sandwich generation coming alone themselves first.
Right.
But actually, because we are so unique and people understand that from the awareness that I'm building, a lot of the cases are the adult children coming in to see for themselves in person whether what we are saying is in fact true.
Sure.
Because they're like, this is too good to be true. And then they send their kids in first. I heard this. Can you go check it out for me? And it's always, they do come back with the older generation. So I also have many cases where all three generations, I've even had 4 generations come in together. So I have 15, 16 people come in together.
Now, we've talked about on previous shows is that you have an older generation that lived through maybe the Depression or the war or what have you, and they're resistant to spending money.
The next generation.
And they just say to you, like, and then you probably have the kids who are overloaded saying, spend your money on yourself. Like you've saved it your whole life. Like when do you put it away for a rainy day? Well, this is the time to start using it, right?
That's right.
So with the different, I'm trying to think of the word, forums that you have with a financial planner and to explain to them, is it enlightening many times?
Oh, yes. It was Miley. She was sitting in there with me. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They when they start taking a little bit of time to actually look at what their assets are and what it is when they sold their home to move in here, and also the different investment options. There's so much out there to help retirement, of course. Yeah. Then they realize that they maybe a lot of the times they brush this aside, push this to the back of their head out of fear. They don't want to face that kind of daunting, oh my gosh, how much am I going to spend?
But also they don't want to spend their kids' money, and it's actually their money.
Yes, it's their money, and also because we have condos, they're purchasing it, but as an asset that they can pass on.
Yeah.
So that's all good.
And on the flip side of that, Zach, is it our model provides options for people they can rent also. Some families might have the attitude that, you know, if you factor in the all-inclusive rental price of the food, the recreation, the housekeeping, the laundry, the outings, the recreational activities, and you put a value on that, and you start adding that, the fact you don't have to pay property tax or overhead anymore. You do the math on that and factor in the psychic income of having a wonderful life.
Right.
I call it psychic income. It's, you can't you can't put a price on that.
Well, also
And-
you can downsize from a house
yes.
and put that money to work for you to pay for it.
Exactly. And so it gives options, and that's the unique thing about, there's very, very few operators that have a hybrid model like we offer.
Now, Greg, when they get to you and they find out, excuse me, you're the operations manager or the vice president of operations, what are some of the things that they're looking to you for when they move in?
Well, although I won't be responsible for operating the building, our general manager will be. However, I'm known for, I walk around and kick the dust out of the corners. So you won't. It's not uncommon to see me bending over and picking up a scrap of paper on the floor or wiping my finger over a painting to see if there's
you're
dust
that guy,
there.
huh? He's got the white glove test.
Yeah, and I'm also the guy that'll go and join in at happy hour. There might be a St. Patrick's Day celebration or Chinese New Year, Mother's Day. I personally, as the VP, I'll be reviewing all the food committee minutes. The residents have food committees, and I don't necessarily sit in, but I review those comments. So I follow up, and
You're responsible for building the ethos among the staff as
you
well,
know,
and he's all about
the tone at the top. If you don't
Yeah.
set that tone at the top, Zach, if the staff see that the VP of operations doesn't care, why should they care? Right, and the residents see that, and I've just shared so many wonderful stories of getting to know residents that lived through the war, that had through the London bombings. Another resident that was part of the team that cracked the code against the Nazis. I've sat with a gentleman on Father's Day that was in the German army. And told me the story about
From the other side.
From the other side, how they took a break on Christmas Eve, and broke bread with the enemy, and then went back to the war the next day. I've heard dozens of stories like this, and that's my point is that that's the difference between how we operate our business and whether we have 3 buildings or 13 buildings. I'm the hands-on person that will be there representing the company and
So
our
you're
partners.
setting the template for what's going to come, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, a big
and
job.
also going to be having your physical presence there, and that's part of our
The physical presence, the family-like
Yeah.
values, and the fact,
Yeah.
that we have a private pay, high-quality care. Even though people don't need it right away, it's reassuring to know that if a couple moves in at some point when someone's changing needs require a higher level of care, they don't have to move again. All their friends are in the independent part of the building, and if they need to go to care, it's there for them, and it's a nice amenity. It's a nice option to have versus being. Sometimes if you go into funded care, you have to go where they tell you to go. You don't have an option. So
you saw that heartbreaking story of the family being broken up,
That's
the
right.
husband and wife.
they
were
can't control
separated.
that.
Yeah.
If there's a bed opens up, you need to
go.
go. If
Yeah.
you need it, you need to go.
Granted, I do get a lot of questions that do involve him, and I'll be asking. But so even though we have such young profile with the adult sandwich generation and some very independent, older, as in like 70s, maybe early 80s. The people that are coming to our Discovery Center really are very progressive, forward-looking people, and they do not need care at all that I can see right now, but they're thinking forward. So often the questions will be, what is the transition going to be? What happens when I can't live in my condo anymore, or I need to move on from rental? What does it mean for you to have the care there? And it is the priority access that gives them peace of mind that they would always be first if the need arises. Yeah.
And that's a big relief for the
Yes.
children.
Yes, yeah. Or that as they're transitioning in, what kinds of conditions would allow them to stay in their same suite, right? Because we offer assisted living. So they ask a lot of questions around what's the difference in the specific types of services that we would be able to get in our independent assisted living suites versus care. And then in care, what kind of programs are there? What kind of staff will be in there? And the answer is a comprehensive interprofessional healthcare team. And that would be adapted to the profile of residents' needs. So it would be our director of care, registered nurse, and then there's licensed practical nurse care aides, and the number or proportion of each level of qualification would depend on the profile of residents. But in addition to the nurses, we also have consulting dietitians and physio and whatever
Goes
is
on and
needed.
on, yeah. So Candy, if somebody wants to find more about Opal by Element and goes to the Discovery Center, are you the one that's there?
I'm
A lot of the
often
time?
there. I'm
Often
often there. I also have a team there. Veronica, she's also been in the retirement industry since probably 25, 30 years ago. Yeah. So and then yep, I am there often.
So you find out all about it.
Yeah.
So it's very exciting, and it's great that you're coming back. And Greg, it's nice to meet you.
Likewise, Zach.
And come
Thank
in
you.
and tell your story. I think it sounds, every time I get excited. Well, you're an infectious bunch over there at Element, I tell you. You have definite energy that I think people resonate with. Candy Ho is the Director and Vice President of Marketing and Corporate Relations with Element Lifestyle Retirement, and Greg Condon, Vice President Operations. Thank you both for your time.
Thank
We'll
you.
talk
Thanks,
to you again
Zach.
soon.
Thanks for hosting
That's
us.
all the time we have. We'll speak to you next time on CL 650.